Sometimes it's hard to see the humour in health. Today we're speaking with Tim Gard. Tim is one of the world's funniest professional speakers. Tim's going to share with us how we can make our speeches a little bit more humorous and how we can use props to be more effective and to help people learn. Today we're here speaking with Tim Gard, who is a CSP, a CPA, and one of the funniest speakers in the world. Tim, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Glad to be here. Been really looking forward to it.
So Tim, you've been speaking for a long time. I always see CPAE after your name. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is, what it means?
CPAE is Council Appears Award of Excellence. It's the highest accolade that you can get from the National Speakers Association. There's only 130 folks worldwide that are within that particular designation right now.
Fantastic. So you speak to a lot of audiences. I imagine you speak a lot to health professionals as well?
I do.
So this interview is a little bit about health professionals and how we can use humour or props to make our presentations or speaking a little bit more interesting.
Okay. One of the biggest things about healthcare and about speaking is that we need to be able to act and not react to the situational stress factors around us. And in the U.S., swine flu, H1N1, everybody was so reactive to it. And I sat next to a person who was washing their hands every few minutes with Purell, and I finally had to tell them, I said, "Why are you doing that?" And they said, "Well, I'm worried about H1N1." And I said, "Well, that's antibacterial lotion." And the guy looks at me and goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, H1N1 or swine flu is a virus. It's not really going to help you."
Great, sure.
So it's fine. It's looking at things a little differently.
And how can we look at things a little bit differently?
It's you use your comic vision to use the humor to see the world through the lens of a comic vision, so that instead of getting upset all the time or instead of worrying about things, that you actually stop and see the humor for what it is.
And there's certain things that are funny in everyday life, aren't they? Like, I know that I've seen you present so many times, and I know you don't use a lot of jokes, but you use a lot of your own situations.
The situational humor, the observational humor, the things you can't make up are huge. Great fun to be able to overcome them with humor, and then to take something that's tangible, something that is real, and exaggerate it with humor. That's the key. I mean, this is an office crab that just sits on your desk, that when your coworkers are a little upset, you can ask them, "Are we a little crabby today?" And so it reminds people to, again, act and not react to the situational
because
stress
sometimes
factors.
in health it can be really stressful. How do we cope with that? How do we cope with the things that just don't go our way sometimes when we're working in a stressful situation?
Well, it's very important that you realize that some things are serious and never going to be funny, and that other things, what you have to do is, at the end of the day, you can either drag your problems around with you, or you can do your dismount just like a gymnast and stick that for the day and then move on. And that's the biggest thing is to use humor to refresh and renew yourself in between negative encounters.
And what do you think the benefits are of using humour when we're educating our clients or when we're doing presentations, for example?
People learn best when they're in a state of moderate arousal.
Yeah.
Humor accomplishes that legally, and it's natural. Yeah. And so when people are laughing, they're more likely to assimilate the message, to understand it, and be open to sharing it. And when they're laughing and having fun, they'll remember it also. It helps with that a lot.
And do you think you can make anything a little bit more humorous?
Not anything, but I would say most
like
things.
Advice. So say, for example, I was a dietitian by trade. Like, getting across healthy eating, as a dietitian, I really think it's really serious, but How can we make that a little bit more funny?
Well, I think that you have to put things in terms that people understand. I mean, years ago, dietitians had the 4 food groups,
Yeah.
and I perceived them at the time as sugar, fat, salt, and alcohol, fried sweet stuff, fried salty stuff, tequila, and Malox. And so the more than anything, think of it this way, it's the ability to laugh at yourself. And as C.W. Metcalf said, laugh not with ridicule, but with objectivity and acceptance of self.
Yeah. And what about using props? I see you use props a lot in your presentations, and I see you using props in your general life. You've got some funny things that you do. So how can we use those to be a bit more effective in our communication?
Each thing, think of props as a real-time visual image enhancer, almost a mental virus, that if someone can see something, it helps them assimilate it, helps them understand the message.
Yeah.
And it also helps people, it reinforces and anchors it in. And you can almost find the humor anywhere. I spoke for a group of dog catchers. I don't know what the animal
Dog
control
catcher.
officers.
Yeah.
And they told me I couldn't find anything funny about what they did, so I got them these that just kind of hang on your arms like this, and I don't know what that image, I don't know if it, and it'll hopefully stop here in a minute, but but I have the most fun taking the items that people think aren't funny and then showing them a way to be funny.
Yeah.
Carol Burnett said, comedy can be tragedy plus time.
Yes.
A lot of things in healthcare will never ever be funny,
At
but
the time.
ourselves, we need to be able to laugh at ourselves, and then again use humor to refresh and renew, to find something actively so that we don't get burned out, that we burn bright.
Yes. And a little bit more about that burnout. So a lot of health professionals do focus, do end up burning out because we take a lot of time caring for others. Do you have anything that you can share with helping us not burn out, maybe?
The more that you're able to identify the things that really push your buttons and then find a balance to them, to me is huge. If you're in oncology, if you're in different areas that are particularly stressful, and you're looking at things that make you mad, you have to again stop and act and not react. If you let things build up, if you don't do your dismount at the end of the day, if you don't refresh and renew, it builds up until you become one of those people you pass in the halls of the hospital going, talk to me like that, I'll talk to you like that, I can't believe. They burn out. And I tell people in my seminars, when something bad happens, you put your hand here and you say, bummer, bummer. You let it go. And so when something good happens, you celebrate it by going, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. And so what happens then is sometimes you just do it in your mind. I mean, but there are times when you just need to celebrate things and say woohoo. We just don't say it enough.
Yes,
Woohoo.
yeah, that's right.
And then let the little things go, and then realize again that some things aren't funny, but there is much more out there that is humorous, but we have to celebrate it and do it actively.
And do you think that some people are just funny? Like, we know those people that we grew up as little kids and they're just hilarious. Or do you think that we can all get a little bit more humour in our lives? Is it a skill, or is it something we're born with?
I believe it's a skill.
Yeah.
You know how people will go to leadership training to learn to be better leaders?
Yeah.
There is a training that, you can learn to use humor, but the biggest thing is that you use it. And the more you use or understand humor, the easier it becomes.
Yes, okay.
It's when you say, I can't do that, or I'm not funny. The example that I use is a comedian says funny things. A professional speaker, someone in healthcare who's using humor to educate, we see things funny. And we use that to educate. I mean, it's like at the hotels. And what I'd say, it's like for me, I have these major credit cards. I'll check in, they'll say, what's your name? Do you have a reservation? Do you have a major credit card? Well, this is a major credit card. On the front it says, this is a major credit card, my last name's Gard, it's a MasterCard card, and they'll say, do you have some other form of identification? And if you turn the card over on the back, it says, here is some other form of identification, and they laugh about it. It's just a fun way of using humor, and again, every time I check in, they don't always laugh, but I can't wait to show it to them. This is a way for me to use humor to refresh and renew myself.
So you don't always use humour just for other people?
You use humor first for yourself,
Yeah.
and then you share it. You know, it's like if you're having issues, that's not, you have to first deal with your own problems and then do therapy.
Yeah.
You know, it's something where the more that you use it, the easier it becomes. And it's something where I think that there's times when it's totally inappropriate. You know, if someone's very ill and you're telling them they're very ill, you don't look at them and go, I know you're upset, but watch this, you know. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, I mean, that's not what I mean. But it's a way to understand that there's a serious, there's humorous. That balance is something we have to work at all the time. The props help me anchor them, and then also realize the crab, the major credit card, anyone can use that, anybody. And there's a big enjoyment from it.
Tim, you've given us some great information about presentation skills, but also, you know, a little bit of life management. If there were 3 things that you could just give us as final tips if we were looking at doing more presenting as health professionals, what would they be?
I would tell people to have fun.
Yeah.
Simply have fun. Enjoy what you do and share that passion. Use humor first for yourself in a way that it refreshes and renews. And the third thing is to share it.
Yeah.
Whenever you can, to share that humor, and it enriches everyone's life.
Tim Gard, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
My pleasure. Nice to talk with you.
So Tim's given us some great tips of being a little bit more humorous, but also improving our presentation skills and managing our own stress a little bit. Tim, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
It's my pleasure. Great to be here.